Hello everybody, my name is Reinventing, and in this video I'd like to share something with you that happened to me while practicing Beethoven's Pianosonata number 3. That's the C major, opus 2 number 3. We're talking about that sonata in the live practicing sessions these weeks a lot. I'm playing from this Czerny score, by the way, Simrock, around 1850. That's a beautiful score. I don't have them all, but I would like to have them all, and they're very hard to find, I can tell you. But a very important source, very important score as well. But that's not the topic of the video. I was practicing the fourth movement, so the last movement. And you know, I'm kind of dealing a lot with metronome numbers, you know that. Just by knowing that those metronome numbers are actual tempo indications of the musicians of that generation, in this case by Czerny, which is an unbelievable thing if you think about it. Those people actually played those pieces and noted their metronome numbers down, so really used this device to present, in this case from Czerny and Mozart, really to the generation of their time, but also the generation of later their tempi. And by the way, if my cheek is a little bit swollen, it's because I had a kind of difficult tooth extraction. So not to go into detail because that's really off topic and you don't want to know all the details about that. I can promise you that. So sorry for that. Anyway, this last movement has a dotted quarter note 116. And you know, those ternary note values, sometimes I get questions from how are you using the metronome? If the metronome is taking 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, how are you dealing with double beat if you have a metronome that's actually impossible to divide by 2? And you know, if you're new to this double beat, single beat thing, you know, basically double beat is if the metronome ticks like that, let's say that's here 112, and you would have quarter note 112, for instance, as a metronome number. You let the metronome tick and you have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So every one gets one quarter note. It's called the binary unity, where the metronome actually ticks or gives you what the Germans call the Taktteilen. This is a Taktmesser in German, Zeitmaßmesser. Anyway, we proceed to the funny part. I was playing this 160 dotted quarter note, and then in Tactus Inaequalis, I should explain that a little bit to you if you're new to that really. So what happens is, Tactus Inaequalis, and my eyes are getting worse. So 116, basically, what you do in double beat is you have 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If you would like to know more about tempo inequalities, there is an excellent YouTube channel called Early Music Scores, and they explain this in a very, very nice way. I give you just 1 minute here of that video that talks you in much better way than I can do about the difference between Tactus Equalis and Inequalis. And it's important to know if you're dealing with metronome numbers. Just 1 minute, and the link to their channel is in the info card and in the description below.
Tactus, or battuta, is a unit of time, or beat, that is expressed with a physical movement, typically of the hand. The movement has two parts. First, a stroke downwards towards the beginning of the tactus, and then a stroke upwards during the tactus. When the tactus is in a duple meter, or Tactus Equalis, the upwards movement occurs in the middle of the tactus, like this. 1, 2, 1, 2. But when the tactus is in a triple meter, Tactus Inaequalis, the upwards movement occurs on the third part of the tactus, like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
So with the pendulum, or with a real human being, if I count this piece in 116, tan, 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 yum, pum, 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 tan, tan, and so on. It's really easy. With the metronome, it's sometimes a little bit difficult, but you can practice that. It's not too hard either. But what you often will do, and that's also an historical practice, if you really want to keep time, so make sure that you're not speeding, accelerating, you put the metronome in a kind of single beat practice just by recalculating that. So if you have these old metronomes, you have those also with a door you can open, and oftentimes you will find a little paper in the door. That paper is often referred to as the proof that metronome numbers were single beat. But indeed, if you read those instructions on the metronome, those instructions give you the use of the metronome in single beat. But that's a practice that existed. You also had metronome numbers in single beat, but in the 19th century, much less than in double beat. But practicing as a tool, as if a teacher it's just counting the bar, the time. Yeah, that's in single beat. So if you recalculate this number in single beat ticks, starting from the double beat perspective, you would have 116 divided by 2 is 58, and then multiply it by 3 to have the 8th notes, because that's what you want to have to guide you to follow your tempo. Well, then you come with 158 multiplied by 3 is 150 plus 24 is 174. If you put the metronome 174, which is not on this old one, you will have it on the digital app, it's 176, so that's about 174. Then this happened. Nothing. So now I can play with the metronome in single ticks. And what I did while trying this tempo out, I was guiding myself with my left hand, and that left hand was doing this movement. And then I smiled, because that's without knowing, without actually wanting to have that effect, I was conducting in Tactus Inaequalis with the metronome ticking 3 times. And so, all to say that those metronome numbers or pendulum notation numbers, whatever, we make a lot of secrets and mystery around those, because let's face it, many of those metronome numbers, metronome marks of those days, and the Beethoven Czerny ones are by far not the most extremes. Even that Beethoven's Sonata, which is often referred to as being the most impossible metronome number, the opening then of the Sonata 138, nobody refers to the Fugue 144 for the quarter note, which really makes no sense. But in fact, those metronome numbers, compare them to the etudes that are written in the similar times by Czerny, or a little bit later by people like Henri Hertz or Kalkbrenner or Méraud. You have a little bit later in the French literature, those metronome numbers are beyond understanding fast. They're simply unplayable. You'll find people on the channel, my channel, say, well, I can play it, obviously. But if you go on an academic level, even people who are like Klaus Mieling of Martin Noorduin, who really peacefully defend single beat, knowing that those metronome numbers are impossible, they admit that they are impossible. So you get this whole scenery of mysterious thoughts. What might be the thought process of those people that we don't understand? Either they had a unique human nerve or muscle system that allowed them somehow to play much faster than we do. Or some will say a Viennese piano will make it possible because it's much lighter action. Yeah, you will have to try to play repeated notes on this piano. Or just play scales very fast. You will miss notes because it's a very slow action. It's light, but it's slow. But as with music, as also with temperament, there is, in these kinds of things, using this device that was so popular, there was not a single line of confusion in the 19th century. So guys, this was just an in-between Wednesday video here at the piano. I thought really worth sharing with you because it made me happy in a way. You know, you're talking about this and then suddenly something happens, as if you were one of those people of that generation. Of course, I'm not, and none of us, we are every day that we live, we are one day further away from that period. So we have to realize that it's all about reconstruction and about interpretation also. But then suddenly something happens in daily practical life that is really close to that period. And so it made me very enthusiastic, hence the video. Okay. That was it for today. Thanks for watching. If you've not subscribed to the channel, I would appreciate that a lot. And if you want to support the things we're doing, there is a Patreon site. There is a link below and in the description box. Would very much appreciate if you spent 1 minute of your time just having a look over there. And now, see you soon again.